Good evening. Hello and welcome. My name is Seth. This is Sweet Chariot. Welcome back to another part on trying to make this bow. This sucker right here. Go see the other parts if you don't know what I'm talking about. What we've done is taken one of these logs like this right here, taken away a bunch of sapwood. I'll talk about this one. Taken away a whole bunch of sapwood to leave a layer, a nice skinny layer of sapwood over the heartwood here. And at the same time as doing that, tried to bring a taper down this limb and this limb while trying to deal with these knots here, which will probably be the end of this bow, if we're honest, unless I've done a particularly good job of retaining a structure. I'm going to try and give you a better look there. There is all manner of imperfections on that limb. And that's the sort of thing you want. Lovely clean back with no spots that will just let go suddenly. And like I say, I'm getting a little bit better at doing this now, so hopefully the way I've attacked it, it's not going to do that. So we can now begin the stage whereby we see to it not doing that, which is tillering, floor tiller. I'll probably call this video floor tillering because we are sort of there. We're at the floor tiller stage. This is the dodgy limb. You can probably see better than me what it's doing. You can imagine our Stone Age ancestors doing just this. What's the best way to see how it's bending? You stick it on the floor. Yeah, so it goes without saying really, well at least it should. Well, if you know anything about making a yew bow at all, that piece of wood is different to that piece of wood. So to get them to bend in the same fashion is going to be tricky. It's going to be a little bit tricky. So I've just decided to attack this. First thing I'm going to do actually is take a little bit more off the handle here, because in sort of deciding the wedges here on either side of the handle, you need a nice solid reference point, and we're not quite there. I don't want to take too much away from the middle because it's going to form the structure of the bow. I should also say I'm just about to turn 700 subscribers. That is brilliant. That's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. What can I say? I had a feeling people might want to see this. 700 people isn't a fantastic amount, but it is to me. That is, like I said before, if I had 700 people stood in a room listening to me talk about bows, I would feel like an absolute imposter. So thank you for joining me in my little safe square of workshop where I can play around with these things and pretend like I know what I'm talking about until I do know what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about. The taper needs to run down each limb, fat to thin, clearly. So we sort of need to make sure that we're at a decent point of being even. They're never going to be even, obviously, because they're two different pieces of wood. They're not going to be identical, but especially in this case, you give yourself the best chance of getting them to bend the same by getting them sized down as similarly as you can. Now is probably a good time to start busting out the calipers and the like. Where are we on the wedges? That one. Need to remark my wedge. Those 2 points at the start of the handle are looking very similar. Calipers aren't quite fitting over there, so I can't say for sure, but it looks very good. Let's tighten them down. Vernier calipers, I think you call these. I don't know, actually, they might have a different name. Verniers are the ones we use in mountain biking to, you know, check your rotor wear and things like that. Vintage, my vintage calipers. What about them old tools, right? So this tip is just a wee bit narrower than that one, I can see that. I can eyeball that now. So I can take my verniers, take that exact width there. Hang on. What's wider is it? Sorry, delete what I just said. Let's take the measurement of that one. Oh, apologies, they are identical. Shut up, Seth. Yeah, I've found this a lot. I've barely used my measuring tools in the making of these. You do it a lot by eye. Let's see if you use your thumb to, you know. You've got your caliper built into your hand there. So, right, cool. Forget what I said. Floor tillering. Demonstrated how it is starting to bend now. And we've got these areas matching quite well. I see this is a bit that's troubling me. How deep is that compared to that? And it's sort of naturally, the sapwood sort of dips in here. So do I try and match it at the top of the handle here? I think I do need to. Don't want to forget about it. I sort of get to the later stages of tillering and it will. So everything's the same. Why isn't it the same? Because you didn't make it the same when you needed to. I guess it's. I stress at this point. You can make a very simple bow and it'll work and it'll be fun. What I'm trying to achieve is I'm trying to compete with recurve bows, and they can do it. Self bows can absolutely do it. You can get up around that 200 feet per second mark. But the only way to do that is to hone every area of the bow, be it from your wood selection to your curing, and then each component that you create, making the most out of the limbs, trying to get them front set and storing energy as best as possible, and all of those components add up. Yeah, so go ahead, make a simple bow. It's fun, it's good. You don't have to stew over it. As long as we're starting to get some ruffling here. I have to take the rasp through that. Yeah, as long as you're learning, it's all good. Yeah, a bow can. I remember saying this to one of the fellas in the archery shop. A bow can be literally a stick and a string, or it can be all the way up to a extremely complicated compound bow. It's all just putting arrows over there. I mean, shit. You could just throw it. You could make a big arrow and throw it. That probably needs to be done at some point. I've got some bits of hazel that might make a good spear. Back over here. Well, here, ash makes a good spear. Right, okay, right, floor tillering. So I just wanted to get that just a little bit better matched up. It looks a bit better to me. Cool, right, now. Tips. Go for the tips, because then you're not going to create hinges down the limb. You want to create a nice thin tip. So I'll probably likely thin it down this way as well. So we're going to start, or do that with the tip overlays. I should say, what am I trying to get to here? Trying to get to brace height. And see, the way to do it is to get a tillering string on there. We could probably get a tillering string on it now, but I know exactly what the tiller is going to say because I've seen it through floor tillering. So we've got a little way to go yet before it actually really demonstrates how it's going to bend. Get it in my spoke horse really, just try and get through this ruffled area. With the card scraper, sometimes you'll find it, just get it close to the camera, you'll find it doing this sort of corrugated effect. Not quite sure why. Like, yeah, looks like wrinkles. Like, what's it called? Shrink wrap, heat shrink, that sort of stuff. Yeah, the rasp is cleaning straight through it. I mean, sandpaper would probably do the same. Get it in the spoke horse set, that's what it's for. Yes, I do need to make this a little bit better, especially now. That's a shit, forget his name. I think it was a Mark. Is it Mark? Fella noted my spoke horse and how I could make a shape in here to hold the piece better. And at this stage, yes, absolutely, lose a lot of grip here. I think that vice is absolutely adequate for doing this sort of work. That seems to be the preferable option. In fact, as long as you've got enough space either side of it and around it to do the work you need to. Yeah, nice big sturdy vice. Yeah, I could replace this whole contraption. Just remember, focus on those tips. It's just that same principle of sculpting down that we did with the draw knife, but now that we're closer to the final bit of material that we want to keep, it's time to slow down. Time to use your smaller tools, smaller cuts, decrease chances of ripping material out. Take that tip. You're gonna start feeling it. That's something you definitely. Or you get it in the vise as well. When you're working on it here, you'll start just feeling that bend appear. Spin it around and do the ratty end. Let's decide how small we want to go on this tip. Yeah, something else to consider here is flattening off the back for tip overlays. Much less of a problem burning through your sapwood here because it's not all that an active part of the limb. So you give yourself like 2.5 inches for a tip overlay, and that wants to be nice and flat. So yes, can try and tie that in with the start of the taper, the thinnest part of the limb. Take the saw across there, it's not a clean cut, not a straight cut I should say. Am I flat? Oh, I lost a stick. That's a good time to mention my sticks. That is a ash walking stick I'm halfway through making, and that is a birch walking stick I'm halfway through making. Come support your boy, buy one of my walking sticks. Yeah, they look way better than this when they're all finished up. I should probably put these down, shouldn't I? And show you my walking stick at the same time. Yeah, these are my Yew Selfbows. If they're a bit of wood that can't make a bow, might be a chance that they can make a stick. Yeah, it's like I say, come find me on eBay and pick yourself up a stick. Try and get some more up online. It takes too much time. You can come buy a bow as well. I'm going to get the Home Guard bow listed soon. I was taking photographs of it today. I need to get to the archery specialist and test the speed on it. Find the exact power. Which reminds me, I need to set up my tillering tree. I hate taking draw weights in the tillering tree. I want one of those draw scales, pull scales that you can use in your hand. You really feel the wall on the bow for if you're testing bows that are sold already, it's fine. You know they're going to draw to the draw length you want them to as you're making bows and you're working your way up to that. I hate putting it in the tiller tree and pulling down on it with the string and the scale. You just lose any feedback, and yeah, I guess you should have sort of tested it to that point. You should know that it's going to draw to the draw length that you're going to pull it to, but I just hate it. So, need to get to the archery specialist, test the speed, maybe pick up a draw scale, pull scale if they've got one, and then get the home guard bow listed next to the other flatbow, the centre cut flatbow agent. And so that is up online, but it also hasn't got the details with it. I've been extremely tentative with that one, not wanting to break it. So it's definitely a point of working well, but I've just been afraid to get it back in the tillering tree and really put it through its paces. So yeah, first things first, test some speeds and see if I'm actually in a good ballpark. It was. The ones I tested, they were up over 150 feet per second, using arrows that were too heavy for them. So yeah, getting the correct arrow in there and then getting them to the right draw length, which it now is. I'm keen to see. I need to get it 170 feet per second is sort of a good starting point for a self-bow. Here we go. Right, I've scraped away at the tip. You might have noticed as I was chatting away there. Rubbish tape measure. We are at close to 1/4 of an inch. 1, 2, come up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 6/16 inches come off it. So we're going to take a little bit more away. 2/16 of an inch we need to take away. Everyone knows what that looks like. Don't there's something wrong with you. I haven't got a reference point in my body for 2/16 of an inch. Behave. Ew. Excuse me. I'll clear my throat out. I live in a dusty environment. So we thin down my tip. I could probably take a wee bit more sapwood away from here, but we'll use that in our tillering process. So that is our starting point. Now I need to chase this thinness back down the limb. That's tillering. We're going to floor tiller it as we do. Sort of encourage the piece of wood to bend, exercise it and give it the memory of bending. And you'll see it start to, it's actually quite nicely front set now. It will start to back set. Yes. Well, especially when you get the string on there. That's sort of the tail of the piece of wood, how good a piece of wood you got, right? If it holds, they're all going to string follow. This is something all self-bows do. You put the string on, you exercise them in, and they're going to follow that string. You're going to stretch it into full draw. You unstring it, and it will return to its original position. There is string follow in self-bows. You don't get it in synthetic materials. This is an organic material. Yeah, especially this one, so it hasn't been cured in the best conditions. Yeah, but they seem to always return. Okay, right, let's do this tip as well now. Where are we at? Just over 1/4 of an inch. That's good, that's fine. This one is just under 1/2 an inch. So let's whip away, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/16 of an inch. It's like 2 mil. remembering to flatten up the tip for the overlay as well. Yeah, come on, don't be an idiot. Scrape, 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 scrape. You understand why I've done a lot of this off camera? Because for the most part, it's just quite laborious, boring scraping. It's not all that interesting to watch, unless I'm misreading the crowd there. Yeah, I guess a good time to reference back down my belly there. My belly? My belly, yes. Back, belly. Let's see that tip. Because again, creating the skinniness on the tip, we're gonna adjust the plane of the belly potentially. So need to make sure we've got a nice reference point. Need to take off its high here. Let's get my pencil out. This is something bow makers do, don't they? Instead of just going by eye, what you can do is go ahead and mark your high areas. So you can take those away before the rest of it. And in this way, we will maintain our belly. It is maybe there, isn't it? Pencil is your friend. Obviously, when you scrape away at that, stop it. The pencil will disappear, and you know you've got it. That's a bit high there, I think. Yeah, all that area there. Okay. Yeah, I do need to be mindful on this limb actually, because you've still got the knots here. Yeah, this one is still a little bit wider than this one. This one's it's wider in that direction. Deeper, I should say. This one is still deeper, so I'm going to try and take a bit more away here, I think. So that limb is dead flat, so I want to try and keep this one as flat as possible, rather than sort of dipping into the knots and potentially creating hinges. Oh, it's going to be tricky, you know, this one. Let's feed him back in here. But what I wanted to do this evening, apart from saying hello, thank you for the subscriptions and for joining me, and a little bit of this scraping. What I wanted to do this evening is get it to close to brace height, close to the point where I could potentially get a string on it, an actual string, not a tillering string. Because this is, yeah, if I can deal with these knots properly, this is not a very complicated tiller. A short bow, and so what I've typically done before now is floor tiller to the point of getting the string on, and then you tiller from that point. There'll be no draw in the string at all, but you'll see exactly how your limbs have braced if you've got, you know, more bend in one than the other, and you can start tillering with your string attached to the bow, which I like to do. Good stage. You feel like you're getting somewhere when you're tillering with the string on. You can feel the draw starting to appear. We're not quite there yet. Let's not put the horse ahead of the cart, so to speak. Flatten this sucker up a little bit. Make putting tip overlays on it later a little bit easier. Great. Actually, most of it probably wants to come off the front, doesn't it? That's the other one. Always referencing back. You don't ever want to change anything too dramatically, because you've got to repeat it on the other side. If you do that too dramatically, all of a sudden you've got no material left to play with. And slow and steady wins the race. note with your rasp here, if you want a nice clean cut, it is a rasp plane after all, not a Shinto rasp. I need a Shinto rasp. Plane being the operative word, it will create a flat surface. Or you can use it on the diagonal like that, and it will make nasty gouges, but it will take material away quicker, a little bit deeper, more aggressively, you could say. So, I'm checking back up, making sure we're actually flattening in the right direction. I guess that is the tricky part here. You're going to be trying to create angles in an area where you're not quite sure how it should lie. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the tip here and the tip down there and thinking, oh, they're not quite parallel to each other. But are the bellies parallel to each other yet? So if it's resting like that, is there something skewing? So yeah, slowly but surely. And once you get around to taking on the belly, you take something away that just makes it all a little bit clearer. A little bit more clear. Clearer? More clear? Let's see. Left hand side here. I can think about these knots again. So we've got a little bit more sapwood to play with, maybe, which I would like to get rid of. I'll tell you what, let's take away these high areas, as they might be screwing with the flatness of our tips. Try and create a nice belly. That knot is causing problems even for the rasp. Dirty. It's ripped out ever so slightly. Still got a bit of way to go. I know in areas like this you might even want to bust in the heavy grit sandpaper if it's proven to be tricky. There. Oh, it's a real tough little bit, that. That is a wee bit better. We can mark some up on the other limb. This limb is a touch fatter in this area here because of those knots down there. It all sort of jimmies about the place. Is that a good word? It waggles in and out the sides. I'm going to need to take just a little bit away in here, I think. Make it a bit more of a sort of swooped taper. So we're going to lose a little bit here as well. Or not. Could leave that there and try and retain a higher power level. Yeah, you never know, it might be worth keeping it wide. Oh, I don't know. Right, let's tidy it up just a little bit. Down this side, the beautiful card scraper or cabinet scraper. Saved a lot of sandpaper by using this thing. Let's mark some high spots. And you got one right there. And there. Down the sides actually. It's pretty good, this one. Use a little bit more on the tip as well. Long way around, thank you. And get a fresh little rasp. I've got some little rasp, but they're like plastic cased ones. I haven't got a vintage mini rasp. Time for a trip to, what's that place called? Any Bristol familiars? To top of Park Street sort of area by the BRI hospital. There's a tool place there. Bristol Design, maybe? I can't remember. A really excellent little tool shop. That's where I got my draw knife from. Had a wide variety, excellent range. And then replacement blades for my vintage rasp here. Not to say cheap tools are not a good way to start, but they ain't gonna last you. Simple as that. It's that old phrase, only a rich man buys cheap tools. Because you're gonna keep buying them and buying them, buying them if you do that. Alright, cool. Let me show you the flex. Oop, don't do that. Stay in there. It's not going to stay in there now. That was a dumb idea anyway. I shouldn't have done that. You didn't see me do that. Sweet. Yeah, you go over that concept. Just create yourself a nice flat-topped, 1/4 of an inch wide ish, this length, this type of wood. It'll be just a smidge under, over, just a smidge over 1/4 of an inch, which is perfect. There's a little bit of space to shape it down. That is small enough now to run our taper back and be happy that we've started at a good place. Now, can't use my card scraper because it's ruffled. Power tools would probably be a good thing to bust out right now. A nice orbital sander. That would do this lovely. But welcome to England, where power is 4 times more expensive than the rest of Europe, other places in the world. Don't get me started. All the talking's been done. You've let us down. So now we need to make bows. British soldiers in Ukraine, come off it. Say go from the tip. It's okay just to shim up this belly here. Just make sure we're going to work away evenly. Careful doing this because obviously you can go through to the wood that you want to keep and you end up with a big old rasp gouge, which is fine. You can have a bow with a rasp gouge on it. I'm sure there's some fantastic bows with rasp gouges on them. Or you can just be a bit more mindful, take a bit more time, or inevitably take a little bit more time. Yes, I think I've got a rip out to try and consider here. Hopefully we'll go past that. Yeah, switch up your tools a little bit more and you can end up with really nice smooth surfaces. And that's what the card scraper is normally really good for when it isn't doing its ruffling thing. It's just excellent for taking away material while not really, well, obviously it leaves scrapes. It's a really easy sand. You just take your sandpaper in afterwards and smooth it off. Let's see, just a bit more here. Let's see if that's created any more bend. Probably not, eh? Oh, maybe a smidge on that limb. That should do it. Looking fairly even, which is the most important thing. Yeah, we want the bend to start here, not up here. I guess that's the main principle of tillering. Teaching how teaching your piece of wood how to bend. Now this is the trouble one. It's looking pretty good. Might be just a little bit up there, but we've still got a fair bit of material there. So now that's looking cool. Try and get rid of this knot just a little bit more on the top. It's this sort of area, isn't it? Obviously the problem here being you want to create a taper, fat to thin, but it goes thin, fat, thin, fat, thin. This was the issue on the Japanese lawnmower that I had. You've still got to try and make the taper happen while leaving thick areas in there. Focus. Take this down a little bit now. Not much. Talk amongst yourselves. Actually do, yes. Get in the comments and check me ideas, thoughts. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I'm sure there is things. You can't enter into an ancient craft and then not be chewed out. I think that's sort of part of the tradition, right? Get your eye in. So if you understand the engineering of it, that the way that you get your piece of wood to bend evenly, once you understand that, you should be able to get that sculptor's eye. And you just know what needs to not be there. That's probably the best way I can explain it. Sorry if my camera's moved, it looks like a bit of a janky angle I've got going on. I've probably been here a little while. How long's a good video? Hour? Is that too much? Because we could be here for like 10 if people were going to watch it. But I get the feeling most people are not watching now. We'll stop watching pretty soon after the start. Oh, it's a man scraping the bow. I'm not saying anything very entertaining. Could do. Could talk politics if you wanted to. There's an endless list of topics when it comes to politics in this country. To the point of insanity, you could argue. Managed to, well, they've succeeded in keeping themselves relevant if we do that, so let's not. Because they ain't. You and I run the country, folks. How are we doing? Take that bit away up there as well. I'll use the rasp for that one. My gummed up rasp. Yeah, be careful there. That could well be the exact point that we need to get it to. It's this area I've got to consider now. How much more sapwood can I take away? So if I take it from this side instead of this side, I end up with a belly that matches that one a lot closer, although this one's got a bit of belly still to come away. It's tricky, you know, knots. I don't think you really know what it's going to bend like until you get a string on and start pulling on them. Yeah, you get my tillering tree set up, get it strapped to a wall over there, over yonder, and then we could do it properly, couldn't we? Which is what we want to do. I was going to start the video sort of recapping. So what you do is you find yourself a piece of wood and you wait 3 years. Then you start this laborious process. Really, you want to give yourself the best chance of succeeding. Don't you? Get yourself clued up. Get good tools together. If you hit a point where you haven't got the correct tool, you should probably wait until you do have the correct tool rather than trying to bodge it. This is a downfall of many of us. Just cut that corner. How much could it matter? It might matter. Lost the sharp edge of my card scraper here. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. We've got 1, 2, 3 little surface knots here, and then the remainder of one, all in the same space. So I don't want to take much more material away. And of course, to try and create the taper, we're going to have to. Right, now it's time to take it from this side. Yeah, I think it's a case of attacking this limb first, in my opinion. So you're free to do this however you want. You're going to have different inclinations. But I'm inclined to attack this limb first because this is the one that's most likely to let go. Ow! Careful of splinters. I took a beauty of a splinter in my hand yesterday. harvesting some yew staves. I found a yew tree with a branch, big branch that had been blown down in a storm. So I went back there the other day and took me some staves. As I was moving a piece around, it went probably down to here, inside my hand. Sort of like a good centimetre into my hand. It wouldn't come out. It was stuck in there pretty good. I had to really yank on it to get that sucker out of there. So yeah, splinters can be really nasty. They can get infected. Get good at taking those out would be my advice. The sticks out the way. Put it this side so we can see. This is the knotty limb. And it's feeling strong. That is bend. That is a couple of inches of bend. So is that one. They're not too dissimilar now, are they? Unless I'm not seeing something. You've got a better angle than me. This is, like I say, this is the concerning part to me. I need to take a little bit more away here for sure, but not before I take as much as I can away here. But we're doing okay. No clicks, no cracks. And we've got some movement. That is probably all I should do, right? I don't know how long this video has gone. I've lost track. I had dinner just before doing it, so I'm feeling a little bit lethargic. But I hope you enjoyed me scraping away on this thing. This is how we do it in stints. Needle stints, because it is quite tiring, especially using the card scraper. Your grip strength can wear out. It can get a little bit boring. You've got to go do other things, make cups of tea and whatnot, so you fire energy into it. You sit down, do a quick overview, remember what you need to do, and you do a stint. So this stint, we have got both limbs starting to flex. And we've got the tapers well in there. They are well begun. I can see there this section. It's going to take an awful lot of scraping away. It's probably going to be worth doing the old plane, then following it up with the card scraper just to save some time there. Okay, this card scraper is so good. You get that burr on the edge of there, raggedy edge, and just whomp. Really very good at the last stages for getting it to full draw. You can so delicately take away exactly where you need to. Oop. Yes. Oh, he's the best. He's the best tool. Yeah, back at Bristol Designs tool shop. I think it's Bristol Designs. I noticed they had a whole pack of different shaped ones. Of course, if you had an L cut in there, you could have a square edge, and you could create a real squared off edge to your bow. Get tricksy. Get crafty, you should say. Slowly but surely, the bow appears. So I'm going to do a whole bunch more of that. Well, might do a little bit more tonight. Definitely over tomorrow, because we're getting close now. If I just sort of sit and concentrate, get nicely fueled up, with some tea and some food, sit here and just hack away at it, we are not too far from getting a string on this sucker, getting it to brace height. So the next stage will be, next video, probably do knocks, hopefully. If I don't break it in the floor tillering leading up to that, we need to get sort of, like 6 inches, 6-7 inches to get it to brace. Thereabouts, between 6 and 8, I think. With movement, tip movement, not draw length, yeah. Need the tips to move a certain amount each, and being that this is going to be a little bit, well, let's say 64 inches. Longbows take a string which is 3 inches shorter than knock to knock. Deflex, reflex take 3.5 inches shorter than knock to knock, and a recurve takes 4 inches shorter than knock to knock. I think these take a 3-inch shorter. I'd say that the home guard bow I did is effectively the same as this flat bow. I think that's running a string that is 3.5 inches shorter, and it's just a little bit too high. The brace height comes in about here. Although that's pretty good. That's not awful. We do have to consider the handle as well. We're going to add a little bit of material to the back of this one, probably just another little sheet of mahogany. Maybe white oak. I've got some white oak as well, but the mahogany looks really good. Yeah, but all bows will have, you know, their own ideal length of string, and it'll be typically somewhere between, you know, 3 and 4 inches shorter than the bow that you've got. Sweet. I'll see you in the next one then. Thanks again, everyone. I'm going to do some tidying up and go to bed. Nighty night.